We're here with the Staten Island Graffiti podcast, and I'm Big MENIC One. I represent the Fabulous Five, Bad Company Crew, um, the Destroyers, and I'm from Staten Island, man. I represent Staten Island to the fullest, and I'm here with
Anthony, DEMAR 137 from Eltingville,
okay,
representing the bomb squad, No Comp Boys, the Crazy Ones, the Crazy Crew, Killers of Graffiti.
there you go. That's going back to the old school with DEMAR, that's for sure. And we have our other brother here.
Yeah, my name is Jay Sayers, BRAZE 1. Staten Island representative, Fabulous Five, Bad Company, and the Destroyers, and Talented Rascals. Yeah.
Okay, we just want to say peace and love we send out to everyone and amongst ourselves. We've known each other for many, many years.
Right.
So we're going to try to touch on a little history of Staten Island graffiti, right? Because that's a story that hasn't really been told to the fullest. So I'm going to start it off. I'm MENIC, and I grew up right in this area on the other street, on Sand Street. And I've always been an artist, and I've always loved art. But this area here, Sand Street and Wave Street, there's a lot of creative energy just in this 2-block area. And we want to tell a little story of that. So my furthest recollection of graffiti is the Fabulous Five. And their headquarters was on Sand Street. They had a full headquarters on Sand Street. And Big Doc 109, OG, and Dirty Slug, that was their headquarters. And that was the Fabulous Five. And they go back pretty far. And at the top of the hill, there was some tags by the Fabulous Five. I'm talking maybe 1974, 1975. And that was the only public art in the area. It wasn't like today with art all around. It was just tags at that time. So that's one of my furthest recollections of graffiti art. So the energy was always here. So we're kind of touching on that, guys.
Yeah, for me, I grew up in Rosebank and then eventually moved to Eltingville, and there was no graffiti unless you were taking a bus to school. You would see graffiti on a bus, like names like Smiley 107, All 2, Van 2, If 170, Ply 170, Deep Purple, and I always was wondering who these guys were. I never met them, but I knew they were from the other side of the island. In my neighborhood, graffiti was frowned upon. So when I would do graffiti, white kids might throw paint on it to cover it up. They didn't want this in the neighborhood. But there was very little graffiti in the neighborhood. And I always started to see Rin 1 and Aid 1, and I was like, who are these guys, Because when these other guys stopped riding on the buses, those are the only names that I saw. And eventually I had met up with Aid 1 at Eltingville train station. He was looking for me. He was Man 2 and Tug 1. And they introduced me to Rin 1, who was, I called him the professor.
Rin was the king at that time.
He
man.
taught us graffiti. He gave us outlines. He helped us. He taught us the language. He inspired all of us. He came up with the cliques of our crews.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into graffiti.
And that's going back
70s, 77, 78,
okay,
76.
Right. Okay. How about you, Braze?
Oh, wow, you're taking me back, man. So yeah, I kind of started out in New Brighton. I would say 1978. Had some old handball courts, stickball courts, up near my grandparents' house over in up on Arnold Street. But school had burnt down over there, so those handball courts and stuff were pretty much abandoned. But that's kind of like where I started out. But yeah, I remember coming up seeing SLUG pieces, Doc, and oh boy, OG is a lot of guys from back then. As far as Ren, is definitely a big inspiration to me. MENIC himself, big inspiration. This man right here, DEMAR, big inspiration on me, man. Because I always was an artist, but I was fascinated with graffiti on Staten Island as a child. So I can remember seeing one of my friends was Fritz back in the days in the early 70s. And I didn't know it was actually him, but that's who I used to see his pieces and be influenced. Then, as time went on, I was always loved the TVS and TD and the Bomb Squad. All those pieces always caught my eye as a youngster. I wouldn't even say teenager because I was following this going way back to I would say 74, 73. I started really picking up on actually what graffiti was all about. But I used to be over in Stapleton a lot, and my cousin, his name is Jay Bellamy, he used to show me how to do lettering and things of that nature. And I just started picking up on styles. And like I say, gentlemen, DEMAR, they're a big influence on me. MENIC, big influence on me. I always wondered when they were doing their next pieces, Basic 5, Saint, Bino, all these gentlemen were great artists. but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot to
So
say.
we're going to touch on a little bit how it got started, right? Now, Staten Island, basically, the Bronx is big and Manhattan, Brooklyn, but Staten Island, it was small, man. And even to this day, it's the same guys that were back in the day, out of the old school guys, that are still doing it today, right? So we're going to touch on how it kind of got started, right? Now, you had two separate factions, right? Factions. You had the Park Hill and Stapleton guys, which were SLUG and OG,
Right.
right? Then you had Doc. He's one of the Doc 109. He's one of the original guys. He came from Brooklyn, and he's more West Brighton, and Doc hooked up with used to write with All Two, kinda, and If was All Two's brother. That was Doc's partner. That was before the Fabulous Five. Then you had OG and OG2 and Dirty Slug. They came from the Bronx.
Right.
Came from the Bronx. OG was with the Fantastic Partners, so he brought it from the Bronx. You had a few guys who were independent, but those were the main guys. You had Doc. Then when Doc came to Staten Island, he went to Curtis, and he ran into Mono, and those were the original guys. You had Mono. That's before the Fabulous Five. You had Doc and Mono, and then you had Slug and OG at a Park Hill and Stapleton, and then they combined into the Fabulous Five.
Right.
Then you had the Port Richmond guys, which was All Two, and If that was Cider. That time, I remember the Sky 55.
Main Pistol,
Right, and all those guys out of Port Richmond. They all had,
Ply 170.
that was a lot of guys. And those were the original guys that they, too, brought that from the Bronx.
Right.
And they came to Port Richmond. So you had the Stapleton and Park Hill with the Fabulous Five. They had the headquarters here on the next block. And then you had the Port Richmond guys, and you had a few guys in between. Wasn't a lot of guys in between.
Right.
It was those two guys. That was the original crews, right? All Two, and If, and the Cider, Ply 55, Deal was one of those guys.
Deal,
There was a lot of guys. And out of those guys came, out of the Port Richmond guys, came you and Aid, came DEMAR, Aid,
Man.
and Rin. and Man. And Ren originally, and then you guys, Ren was the first with Aid, and then you came in, DEMAR.
Right.
So tell a little bit about those guys, the Port Richmond crew.
Well, how I met Aid, him, Man, and Tug were looking for me, so they knew I hung out at the Eltingville train station.
Okay.
And
Aid was with Ren at that time.
Yeah, but Ren wasn't at the location where we all met. So when I met Aid, Man, and Tug, they said, "Oh, you DEMAR, you right?" I said, "Yeah, I right." And they go, "Oh, we want you to meet Ren, my friend, so on and so forth." And every time a bus came by, we would tag the bus. And then I eventually met Ren. Ren, again, he was our professor. He was our teacher. Then he started coming to my neighborhood to do pieces on the South Shore. Great Kills, Eltingville, Tauntonville. And then I was going to his neighborhood to do pieces. Richmond Terrace, Port Richmond, Curtis. And that's how we connected.
Right. And that's going back
77, 76, 78.
Right. So we're going to use the timeline with the old school graffiti. A lot of people say 71, 72. Right? That's the timeline. That's what the era that we're going to start at, right? So then we go, that's the old school guys, Blade and all those guys from the Bronx, all two, OG, those were the, SLUG back in those days, those are the, Doc can go back to the 72, 73. Right? So those guys, that's the timeline we're going to use, right? So they came and they brought it to Staten Island, and then all two and those guys, and Ren hooked up, and Aid hooked up with those guys at around that time. We're going forward to the middle 70s, and then he hooked up with you, DEMAR, and that's when I can remember a lot of your pieces that you did in the late 70s inspired me, and that was, we had our little crew on Sand Street, myself, Basic 5, Saint 5, Bino was with us, Cato 1, 2, 3. We had a pretty decent crew, man, at that time. And we were kind of doing our own little writing. And then we saw you, DEMAR, and the pieces that you did with Ren and Aid, and that inspired. That inspired us.
Aid was like a recruiter, so he was like trying to get all the writers together, right? Then he would say, "Oh, you got to come down to the ferry. We got to do a piece at the ferry. You got to do a piece at Richmond Terrace. You got to do a piece at Port Richmond." So they were picking locations. I was more of a laid back writer, like, I don't want to get caught,
Right.
Ren he wanted everything on Front Street, right? So he goes, DEMAR, I want to put my piece where everybody could see it. And, we did a piece on, to this day, if people see it, they say, that was on Richmond Avenue in Oakdale. They knew exactly where it was. Because all the buses would pass it. Right. And it was right out on Front Street the way Ren wanted it. Yeah. But, like, the difference between Staten Island writers and the other four boroughs is that they did trains. So the trains went from one location to another where everybody's seen it, tourists seen it. For us, it was walls. So if you didn't pass it walking by bus or car, you don't see it as much as the trains.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing was doing handball courts and walls, too. First pieces was on, like I was saying, that handball court up in New Brighton, and I just started using that as a canvas after a while. That was when I first started. Then I worked my way down to Mahoney Park a little bit.
That was a famous,
got some productions down
spot,
there. Yeah, with Trick and and
so,
Cover.
So BRAZE, I would say you was kind of like one of the few independent writers from the late 70s. Myself and DEMAR came out of the Ren group, right? And we had our roots also with the Fabulous Five, because we grew up on Sand Street, and SLUG was, like an idol, man.
Yeah.
But you came out of that like independent kind of group, man. You wasn't aligned with the Fabulous Five guys, even though you knew us and everything, but you wasn't aligned with the Ren crew, man. So you kind of, how did you form your own crew like that, man? How did you become independent with your own crew? That's a pretty cool story, man.
Well, me and my brother, we used to go out tagging a little bit. He used to write Sir Cuzzit. my brother Guy. So, you know, we'd sneak out 2 o'clock in the morning, throw up a couple of little pieces and tags and stuff like that. Then started getting more involved. You know, it was my friend Armando. He used to write cover. So
now Mondo, he started with us.
so yeah, so that's where that's a transition going.
Right. You know,
but I was
connections.
good friends with Basic and Saint and Pay and Ron and you know, so and with you, we all went to school together, right? So that's where I think some of that connection went through, just by Cato, who's one of my best friends, man. We all grew up together. It was a whole bunch of us, but I think that's where, as far as independently, I would go out. I used to like going on little missions and doing block letters and. Then I started developing my wild style. Then, just stayed with it. I've been writing 45 years now, and I don't tag up or nothing like that anymore because I know with that you're signing yourself up for real. But I love to get involved with art exhibits and stuff like that. I've been doing that for a while. I think. I remember going to Fashion Motor up in the Bronx and meeting Days up there, and it was the first time I met him. And I remember he gave me some really good advice. He said, "You're a good artist, brother." He's like, "But start doing more canvases." So I started stretching out into doing more canvases, and it goes back. You know, I've been writing a graffiti artist for a very long time now, so. You know, as far as, but I want to answer your question correct though.
You are, So, you know, you just kind of like did your thing, and you know, built your own crew, and you know, out of some of the energy that we're all connected with. You know, I think that's the coolest thing about Staten Island,
right?
Is that we're all connected in some kind of way,
right?
You know,
but we really didn't get the recognition as the other 4 boroughs.
No, right.
You know, like with Scheme from Harlem, when he seen one of Rin's pieces, he goes, "I didn't even know there were burners on Staten Island."
But that's the thing, you know, and they were. You know, they were all the pieces that
used to get buffed so quick.
Yeah, but a lot of them stayed up, man, you know, and that was the energy that inspired me. I remember Stapleton, Dirty Slug. That was a famous spot. The handball court, you know, that was the public art, man. And we got to get back to like what was the public art? You know, there's art all around now. You know, the only art like from the late '70s that I remember was the handball courts, and like you said, Staten Island was walls, man. And
right,
but even before the trains, it started on the walls anyway.
Exactly.
So that's original energy anyway, you know. Then it branched onto the trains, and now it's all over the world.
There's always that debate: did it start in Philly or the Bronx?
I think it really doesn't matter, you know, because it started somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, at some time around the same time.
Right.
Now, how that did is that people traveled, man. Even with Staten Island, you know, we get back to Staten Island, most of the energy came from somewhere else, and it was planted here, right? And we planted that energy here,
right?
And it spread, right? My family came from Harlem. Your family came from another borough, but we ended up in Staten Island. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, in my opinion, I think it started in the 70s, and some people go back to the late 60s.
Right.
But generally, it popped up all around. Maybe somebody came from New York and went to Philly and said, "Hey, I write." Or maybe somebody came to visit family. I used to go Philly all the time as a kid. Like my uncle lived in Philly, man.
Yeah.
And I would always check out, like, I don't remember. It's going back a lot.
I remember going there.
The tags, man. There
was a lot of tags.
Yeah. In the schoolyard. I used to go to the schoolyard and with my cousin, and there was tags, man. You know, I don't say there was pieces. I don't remember pieces. But there were tags all around with style and everything.
Well, that's how it started, with a tag.
With a tag. And even here, you know, there wasn't, I talked to Doc 109, man, the leader of the Fabulous Five. And he said that when he came from Brooklyn, there wasn't no pieces on Staten Island,
Yep.
man. There was no pieces. It wasn't like the Bronx.
Right.
There was the few. He was one of the first guys. I remember Slug had some early pieces. You had taggers, man. Sonic was a tagger. You had a dude, Fuji, had one of the best tags I've seen, man.
Wow.
But there wasn't pieces, right? Until Ren.
Who used to write Fire?
There was a Fire. I remember that was
Watto.
around.
That F.
Yeah,
That's Watto?
Watto.
Oh,
Yeah,
No,
Watto.
I don't know if that was him, but
that's
I
my
remember
man.
seeing
Okay,
that.
yeah,
name.
Watto was one of the older taggers, you know. So
I remember seeing.
it popped up even here with Staten Island. Now we can go back to the Bronx and say, hey, Bronx, we all know about the Bronx, man. That's
Right.
where it started.
Yeah.
OG and those guys came
some
from
of
the
my
Bronx.
roots come from
All
there,
two
too.
came from the
From,
Bronx, man. If they
Staten
they
Avenue.
came from the Bronx. Doc came from Brooklyn, so it was brought from other places
Right.
here,
Right.
and then it developed here in the '70s. But it goes back a long time, you know. So, I guess what I was going to say is that those early pieces that you guys did, you know, we had our crew, and then you hooked up with Ren, and from Ren, you inspired us, and we started writing, and then you kind of stopped, right? And Ren kind of kept it going with the Staten Island.
Right.
The Fabulous Five guys, they all stopped too. They kind of stopped, and myself, you know, we took over, myself and Basic, and you had your crew, and then we kind of stopped. Everyone kind of stopped, you know. You kind of stopped writing, and Ren kind of kept it going. He was the
Running with
one.
Money.
Yeah, he had a lot of guys.
Money.
man.
All
Yeah,
these guys
Trip.
were kind of tied to with Ren's younger brother, and
Right. Okay. Yeah. They had, you know.
and Nas, right? See,
Right. So let's touch on that. You know, how did it continue, right? And you've been doing it many years, DEMAR. You still kind of, even though you stopped like writing, maybe how would they say officially, you still kind
I
of,
still do it on paper.
yeah, you know, and you kind of
it's great
kept that
seeing you drawing, bro.
energy all these years later, and that's a beautiful thing. I think also with Staten Island is that want to tell a story of Staten Island is that our friendship runs deep, and our brotherhood runs deep.
Right.
Okay, I'm only speaking for myself, but I know that I've known DEMAR since I was a teenager, man, and you too, Braze.
Yeah.
And we come together. Doesn't matter how
It's
long.
a bond that
Yeah.
it's a graffiti culture that's in your blood, and it doesn't matter if you're black, white,
There you go.
Hispanic.
Right.
It's a
That's an
bond.
important-
We all had
Yeah.
the same love for aerosol art.
Yeah, we did, man.
It's a culture.
We did.
It's a culture.
And
Yeah.
it brought us together,
Yeah.
and it kept us together all these years. You know,
See, that's the beautiful thing about
That's
graffiti and writers. There's no racism among writers.
there you go. There you
Right.
go. You always have problems among people anyway.
Yeah.
But with us, right, we're strong, man. We keep that together. You know, I want that to be said.
Absolutely.
Right. You know, I still speak to Ren, and all these years later, man, and DEMAR, and Doc and the whole crew, man, all those guys, Slug and OG, Kato, it's what's left of the crew, man.
Exactly.
If we had all the crew members and all the guys, I'm only talking about the old school.
Right.
We'd have a room full. We'd have a room full.
Yeah, I'm
When
still,
I go back to my old town, Eltingville, I see on the wall, Eltingville Posse.
Eltonville.
With a group of writers with
That's
like 10
Kika
different
Land.
names. And I'm like,
It's a big peak.
when I was there, there was nobody.
There's nobody. But DEMAR, you
But
got
that's a good point. It's like Shep, Kika,
Right, Shep,
Jade.
Kika, yeah,
they came
Jade.
up after me, but
Right.
I
Raj.
inspired them too.
there you go.
And I'm
those-
sure they inspired other people.
Yeah, and those guys are really into it. I would like to touch on how life is kind of funny. Now, generally speaking, the North Shore was the hub of graffiti, man, back in the day.
Absolutely.
And it still is. There's still a lot of energy. You know, let's give a shout out to the hub, man.
Yeah.
Hub
No doubt.
17.
Absolutely.
Look how far they've come. And just with music, with art. There's always been music and art in this area. It's seeds that were planted many years ago.
Right.
Many years ago. And look what it has grown into.
Exactly.
Right? Just talking on a local level, right? Not on an international level, just Staten Island, man, just our level, right?
Right.
Look how far that's come, man. That's a beautiful thing. Give
Big
a
push
big
right
shout
there.
out to Hub 17.
Absolutely.
But those were seeds. There's
Thank
something.
you for
There's
letting us
something.
get this platform.
Yeah, there's something about, I would think, this area. DEMAR's, you said you was in Rosebank, so that encompasses all the way down Bay Street from Rosebank all the way to the ferry,
Right.
and everything in between, right? Up this way, up that way, Park Hill, right? We're talking that whole area,
Right.
Right? There's something special about this area. Also, Port Richmond too. There's a
Right.
little, what is it? A portal of energy that was there with Ren and Man too, and that's some strong energy.
Yeah.
If we go to today, Port Richmond is art all over Port Richmond, man.
Exactly.
They just did a mural in a couple of years ago in what is it, PS 21. That was a famous wall, 20 for the Port Richmond guys, man. You couldn't go there and do any art, man. They'll right over you, man, or they'll beat you up. That was all two and cider. That was their wall back in the 70s, right?
Right.
That was their famous wall. And then me and Ren did a piece after those guys had stopped. We did a famous piece there, one of the best pieces that was maybe 70. When I first got with Ren, he said, we got to do this wall.
I kind of remember all
This
two
famous-
and New Brighton too, right?
It came down a little bit, but he was
Yeah.
more Port Richmond, going to the harbor a little bit. That was the Port Richmond guys.
Right.
Me and Ren did this famous piece that even to this day, that's one of the most famous pieces, man. That was a famous schoolyard that if you was a king on Staten Island, and I was following Ren, Ren, I wasn't the king, Ren was the king, but I was his partner. And he did this famous piece, me and him, he did mine too, and I did a MENIC.
Right.
And it was famous at the time, man. Ren had went over, the cider piece was fading and all two and those guys.
All right, them
and
cider
then Ren,
pieces were lasting forever.
yeah, and for years, man, 10 years, 15 years, those pieces were up. Those were the only pieces. So we did this piece, and now if you come, Exit, I think he did a piece a couple of years ago.
Right.
Real positive colors and everything. Now it's beautiful public art, right? And so look how far it's come.
Absolutely.
Right, all around. They did a piece in Stapleton, same thing. Stop the violence. Beautiful work.
Yeah.
From all, I was telling the
settling on
guys, those pieces were the pieces that the graffiti writers had, man.
Yeah.
On the wall at that time. So that energy inspired, even across the street, we looked, there's beautiful art.
That's
you have the hub.
productivity. Yeah.
Right, it was
hub.
there already, man.
Arts,
the energy.
the art cipher too.
Yeah, right. That came later. All that
bless
came later.
Charlie B.
All that came later from, in my opinion, from the energy of the Fabulous Five, of Ren and DEMAR and Aid, and Ren had pieces all
Castor.
along Bay Street. Right,
Rin
that all came
covered
later.
baby.
more of the island than any
Yeah.
other writer I know, because not
Of
only did he
course
have
he
the
did.
North Shore, he had the South Shore.
right, with you guys.
Yeah.
And DEMAR, you were showing me the pictures, man. If we look at those pictures today, it's just as hot. You did clouds and colors and designs and all that in the 70s, man. That was pretty cool. That energy.
Touching on
See, I was trying to
Some
get him to
psychedelia.
write along the train stations because everybody on a train would see it.
That's
Oh,
when
yeah.
people. That's when people traveled by the buses, and they traveled. Staten Islanders worked in the city, and they took the train, and they took the bus. Now everybody drives, but we
Right.
go back in the day, man. Now let's touch on the buses real quick. With the special thing about Staten Island also was that I don't remember so much. I'm sure it could be the 5 boroughs, but I know with Staten Island, that if you had to be the king of the buses, and we're talking the insides, not the outsides,
Yeah, I didn't-
right?
I didn't
The
fuss over
insides of the
buses
buses.
too much.
And every bus, I'm talking about every bus on Staten Island, right? Even the buses to the South Shore, they were killed because they used to park all the buses in the bus yards.
Right. So that was I thought that when I met up with Rin, I said, well, how are these people writing on a bus? It's coming out too neat. Their bus got to be stopped, right? So I thought we were going to go to the bus yard, go into the buses, tag up all the buses. That didn't happen. But Rin said that he did do a piece on a bus, but
That was on the outside, but it was
they painted it before he got to
right,
it.
but it was on the inside of the buses.
Yeah.
That's how people got exposed to
Right.
graffiti.
So I think like buses would park, bus driver would go get something to eat or something, then people running the bus, tag it up, and then run out.
But they did break in. They did used to sneak into the buses, man, into the bus yards. There was no cameras or nothing.
But they see,
like
that's
that.
what I was telling Braze, is that's what I want.
did.
I wanted
Right.
to do that, and I wanted to name our clique the Bus Yard Boys.
You know, and so the buses were killed. The inside of the buses. That's, you know, when I was a kid going to school, man. You know, we all took the buses, man. You know, travel, man. You know, and I would remember seeing, not with like little skinny markers, man.
Right.
They had unis and pilots and minis, but I remember seeing the unis, which was the fattest markers, man.
Now you're talking.
Okay.
The wide nibs.
Yeah.
I wanted that uni, right?
Yeah, man.
And
Those unis.
I was asking these guys, I said, where do you get these markers? My friend said, you could take a Tic Tac container, cut up an eraser, put the ink in it, and then tape up a cap.
That makes sense.
It didn't work as well as I wanted it to, but then they said, you got to go to Pearl Paint.
Pearl Paint had them, right? And
Yeah.
there was a
Canal
place
Street.
way up, like it wasn't
Oh, Marsh
up in Manhattan.
on 110th Street, I
Yeah,
think.
the further it was up there, man.
So you get the
went up
ink, the
there,
Flowmaster.
We used to buy the unis up there, but that was the thing, man. If you could get your name on the bus with a uni, I still remember 40 something years later.
Yeah.
It's still in my mind. The buses were killed. And those unis, man, I remember Doc and all two. Even Doc says he was the king of the buses. Before and all two. I remember seeing an all two, man. He had a cool
thick.
two, man.
Oh, yeah.
He had one of the coolest twos, you know, and it was just ALL with a two, man. It was cool.
Looking at
There was a lot of other
the
guys,
picture that
man.
you had there. It's just-
Yeah, they did all
You know,
kinds of
so
stuff with
and
the
I remember
T's.
Doc.
Oh, yeah.
Doc had his with his D and the 109. It was just so cool, man.
Right.
I like the hats,
Whatever.
the little hats that they do on top.
Yeah, you know. So I
The
remember,
king, the
I remember.
crown.
Yeah, but the little one, with the little top hat on it, kind of like those.
So that inspired me all these years later, and
Right.
so you know we kind of touch on that. That would make special. You know, one of the special things about Staten Island was the buses, man. They used to kill those buses, and like DEMAR said, you wanted to do it where people could see it, and people did see it. You know,
Yeah.
people did see it, and I think it inspired a lot of people. You know, inspired me all these years later to continue. You know, doing graffiti art, man. You know. I'm kind of proud of that. I'm very proud of that.
I cannot believe what it evolved to on the South
Yeah.
Shore. When I go back to my hometown, I'm like, wow.
It's big, man. It's big. They have Fat Cap out there. They're
Right.
building like a whole graffiti store history thing, and they have
That wall of
JC's.
fame?
Yeah, that's JC's wall. He's one of the old timers too. All the guys left, man. Even JC, man. He's the South Shore. He kind of took over from you, DEMAR. You know, another cool guy. All the Staten Island guys are cool, man. I'm just speaking for myself. Really, you know, they're cool. They're tough. Because we had to be, man, to make a name for ourselves, man. You know, that's Staten Island, yeah. But no, we got a history too. We have a history too that runs deep, man, and we're dedicated just like the Bronx and all the other boroughs, man. We love it. JC, shout out to Big JC. They all retired, man, and they moved to Florida. But he, you know, he took over from you, and he built that wall, man, which a lot of famous writers go to, and have pieced there through the years. Some great pieces from your energy that you planted, DEMAR. You know, you need to be proud of that also. Is that you put those seeds there, man, and JC and other guys you inspire. Hey, JC
Put the
said,
seeds there and you don't even know it.
yeah, and it grew, man. You came back, you had a whole tree growing there, man.
I wish my hair would grow like that.
Mine too, man. But I used to have braids, man. What does that tell you, man? But really, you know, so there's a lot that we got to be proud of, man.
Yeah.
At Staten Island, even though most of the guys have left, man. You know, they left. They moved away. We all, you know, life changes, man.
Yeah.
You know, DEMAR, you're not on Staten. You know, you moved away to me and BRAZE really was hanging in there, man. You know.
You know how it is. Like when the thing about graffiti artists, we're on time. You say we're gonna do a piece at a certain time, we're gonna be there. You know, if it's time to go to school or work, we might be late. But, you know,
That's
like even with this, you know, we're on time.
You're on time. That's right. But that's a beautiful thing, man. And you know that people they continue to carry that on, man. You know, with Staten Island, man. We you know we're talking about Staten Island. Man. We telling the story of Staten Island, and so that's a famous wall that many riders through the years, and he's still keeping that going today. Now, I just went out there, me and Exit, the first time, man. I'd never been piecing in the South Shore. Never. My whole career, man. I've been writing graffiti for 40-something years, and I never made it to the South Shore.
You're not alone.
I finally made it to that wall, man, and I went to that wall, and I said, wow, this is the wall that they're talking about. I'm a North Shore guy, man.
And you also said, boy, this is the sticks.
Yeah, man. It's way out there, man.
Mosquito land.
Yeah, I got bit. I'm still scratching, man. So I thought it was a fly. That was a mosquito, man.
Watch out, there goes a deer,
Yeah, man. It was in the woods, but the wall is huge.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of history there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of history, a lot of guys, man. So that took over. The energy spreads. It spreads. And that was a connection. I always wondered, well, how did it get to the South Shore? How to get to the South Shore? And DEMAR, you said, hey, you was a big part of that.
Absolutely.
Bringing Rin out there.
When I went,
and Aid and those
Tartanville
guys.
High School was just built. When I lived on Arden Avenue, it was a dirt road across the street with woods. We used to build log cabins in the woods, start fires, hang out in the woods. But now, it's like Brooklyn.
Really, and we always had graffiti on the North Shore, and so it's a beautiful thing for my eyes to see, right? And we're the representatives of the history, man. There's not a lot of guys, like I was telling you guys before.
Got to put it out there.
Out of all the guys, man, and there's a lot of guys from the South Shore, from the North Shore, from all around. There's new guys, and God bless, because somebody has to keep it going. Because if you don't keep it going, that was our problem. We never kept it. We never put down new guys, man. The Fabulous Five never put, Rin, and he still to this day never put nobody down now, right? That was our problem. We didn't see that hey, you got to put guys down to keep it going.
Yeah.
To keep that energy going. It's the three of us out of the whole crew, man. Out of all the crew, I can name at least 30 guys that could be here. And I said, wow, some of the guys are still around. Some of the guys are still, but they're not really into the scene. They still like doing it here and there, but like representing, hey, I'm representing the scene. It's really us, man. So I'm proud of that, man, that somebody has to do that. Right? So who's going to represent, who's going to speak for the guys that ain't even here to tell the story? Right. So we're kind of telling the story of that, and it's come a long way. I'm real proud to see how far. Now you have public art all around, and other people have picked it up and kept it going. Right. Which I think is a beautiful thing, man. They just did the thing in Stapleton, the anti-violence. It wasn't just graffiti art, but it was some graffiti artists that were there, and
that was good to see.
And just incorporated all kinds of art. So, that's a blessing. Us guys from the old school could kind of see that. But, we touch on ourselves, man. We're still keeping it going to DEMAR. You do some things. You've been doing things on Instagram and putting your art out there for many years. Good. I've been following you, BRAZE, yourself. You've been doing great art, for many years, too.
Thank you.
You never stopped. And so that's a beautiful thing. Stop. Myself, I was lucky to get back into it. There's three things of graffiti riders. You have guys that never stopped. They never stopped. They still to this day, man, they somehow doing it. Then you had guys that stopped.
Set the brand.
And got back into it. And that was me. I had stopped for a while, and I was lucky enough and blessed to get back into it. And then you have guys that did their thing, and you're in that with me, that you stopped, but you still kept it alive, man. You still
what got me going again? Mm-hmm. One guy did a tribute to me, a guy named Tom. Right. And he said that the piece that you and Rin did in Eltingville inspired me.
Look at that.
Into graffiti.
There you go.
And then I started writing again.
And that was good, man.
Yeah. But you get guys, like you said, a lot of guys never stop. You got Cope 2.
Oh, yeah.
Scene, Blade. No, those guys, they never stop.
Right, T-Kid, there's a whole bunch of them that never stopped.
The first artist that turned it into a business was Tracy 168. He started doing murals. Yeah. He stopped doing trains.
Right.
Then other guys piggybacked off it.
Yes. And But that's a beautiful thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, you know." I think those are the guys that I looked up to. I wish I never would have stopped. You know.
Yeah.
But
you know, Rin said the same
is.
thing. He said, if I never stopped, I'd be right up there with the others.
He would, and he would, and he would. That's the honest truth,
Yeah,
man.
because he was so ahead of his time.
Right, you know. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But we're lucky enough that, you know, we got back. And then you have guys that did their thing, and they stopped, man. They stopped, and they just never wrote. And they pick up a pen or something, but they stopped. You know, a lot of guys in my crew, they stopped. Basic and those guys, St. Five, they stopped, and they just didn't do it anymore, you know. So that's a blessing, I think, that we can say that we still. So we touched on, you know, the old school, but the thing with graffiti too is that you have to kind of keep it current, right? You can't live in the past. That's one of the art forms that you know, it's good to live in the past and look at the past and see the old pieces and reminisce and say, hey, that's really cool. But the important thing with graffiti art, writing, you know, people say graffiti art, that's just a general term.
That moves, yeah.
It's writing. We say we're writers.
Yeah.
We're writing. You know, we're just using graffiti art as a general term. But the thing with writing is you have to kind of keep it current.
Right.
That's what makes it even more, you know, the better, that you're still doing it now, right? You're not just, I did it in the past, but you're still doing it now. So we 3 years ago, we did this mural, right, with the old school guys said, MENIC, I want to get all the guys together.
Yes,
right?
you did.
I want to get all the guys together from the old school. What's left of us, you know, it's a handful left of us.
Right.
And we're going to do it for ourselves, and we're going to do it for the old school guys that aren't here, man, that can't say, because they would have loved it, right? If we could get, you talk about the 50-year hip-hop, man. 50 years of Staten Island graffiti. If we had all the guys, that would be a hell of a party. So we said 3 years ago, we're going to do this mural, and I get all the guys together. And we did. We got Doc and OG from the Fabulous Five. We got all the Fabulous Five guys together. Exit, he was a big part of it. And Rin came out first time, GANO, the whole crew. And then we did it again. And we had Bomb 5 from the city. We had Slave,
Strider,
Dell, Strider.
Kika got
joined
Kika
us.
back out.
Right.
Jays,
They joined us for the second year.
Slave.
It was even bigger. We had almost the full Fabulous Five there, man. The first time that SLUG and Slave did a piece in 40-something years.
Right.
Doc was there. OG did a piece. And we had a couple of guys from the city center. They all joined us. It was big.
Right.
Had all the guys together. And then we did it again last year, which was the best year, right? The best year, because last year, DEMAR came, St. Five, we had BRAZE and Strider, Bad
Shep
Company.
came.
Shep, we had the whole crew,
Yeah.
Mike, Vinny.
Trick, Keka.
Yeah, the whole
That's
crew,
right.
man. Slug did a piece. Ink was there. Ink
Mike.
is one of the oldest graffiti writers around. His roots in Staten Island, can't forget Ink.
Right.
His roots in Staten Island also, man. He's a big part of Staten Island. That energy travels. My man got a crew in France. Right? He got a crew in France,
That
man.
GANO out
His
there,
hit
too.
traveling his energy travels all over the
Out of
world.
Fab Five.
Right, so we had the whole crew there, and that's not just 40 years of graffiti.
Right.
You know, 50 to the Fabulous Five and DEMAR. Those guys,
Well,
you know,
look,
before us.
I didn't see Rin or Mike in 45 years.
Look at that.
Right? And then if it wasn't for you, Rin and I wouldn't have done that piece this year.
I've been working
45 years later.
I've been working on that for years, DEMAR. I said, once I hooked
You
up
pulled
with
it
you,
off.
I said, yo, man, I got to get you guys. I don't care how long it takes me, man.
Thanks to
I
Fat
get you
Cap.
guys together, man. You know, and that was great. That's a piece of history that goes down in history, man. So we did it last year. We had everybody there. DEMAR, you joined us. BRAZE, you was there. BRAZE and Strider, man. That's a partnership, man. Staten Island partnership, man. That's history. Slug was there. Ink. And
OG.
Cato, OG came, Bomb 5, another guy, our roots from the Bronx. We
Right.
got connections all over.
Pick up some bomb.
And, you know, I did, Doc came, and I did the Fabulous Five, big character. Jay, another Exit.
Yeah.
There's a whole Staten
Jay
Island
and
crew,
Exit,
man, that, you know, and those guys go back. Jay and Exit, they took over from us, the old school guys. They
Right.
carried it, and they still carrying it on.
Right.
So that was a beautiful thing. Not only, so that's what I mean, you know, we're not just living in the past. We're keeping it current, right? Even if it took us 40 years, we're keeping it current. Now, that was a blessing that we got all those guys to to come together, not for money. That wasn't done out of money or nothing like that, or fame or nothing.
It's a bond.
Yeah, that was done out of love, man. Now, you talk about love and friendship, that was done out of love, man, and passion.
Yeah, exactly.
Love for the art, love for each other. They say, hey, Menic, you call me, I'm coming,
And
man.
the food you cooked.
Well, all right. Come on for the food, right? But, so that's when we talk about Staten Island, man, we got to talk about love and the love for each other, man. We got some love, man. That was done out of love, man. And I tell everybody, man, it was on a back street that even people, I said, yo, we did this mural 3 years where they don't even see it. I said, if that was done where people could see it, it would have been all over the world.
Right.
But we did that for ourselves, man. And we had all the guys together, DEMAR and you and Ren. How cool was that to have the original guys, right? You had SLUG and Ink, and Doc was there, and OG, and then you had Ren and DEMAR, right? Not even me and you, Braze, and we go back. You had the guys that we could say go back to the original guys.
If it wasn't for you
cool
and
that,
GANO,
man?
I would have never connected with Ren. I've been looking for him for 40 years.
There you go. And God bless GANO, but GANO came later, man. Yeah. He's later. And Lask, God bless, that's our brother Lask. Yep. Lask is down, from the past, but those guys came a little bit later, bit later. But we had the original guys, man. All these years later, and like I said, Staten Island is not, chime in, don't let me, take all the words. It's
give it some airplay, man. Can we get some airplay?
Go ahead, man. It's not. To me, that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, you start tying all those names together. Yeah,
that was cool, man.
Talking about the buses and stuff when VO5 and those cats,
right?
Little cousin Shun and Syed and Lask, of course, and On To.
What about?
Let's not forget him.
Wasn't it Hit 2?
Hit 2, yes, Hit 2 goes back like with Ren and all too. Another guy, he lives. I think he lives in Europe somewhere, man. Wow. But he comes back every year and he hooks up with Ren. He comes back every year. Nice. And him and Ren, he came last year and he went to the art show. We had a big show in the city and all the famous riders were there. And Hit 2 was like, oh, yeah, he was talking with Chuck, and I know these guys from the Bronx. Another guy that goes back all these years,
Quito,
man. Quito? Yeah, well, he's from Brooklyn, but he came to Staten Island,
right.
But he's originally from Brooklyn, but his roots are here too, man. So, that's
going
to
way
me,
back,
that's a cool thing, man.
Absolutely.
Even, that we can still, we still keeping it current, and the energy is still here, and we can enjoy the energy, man. We put those seeds and it grew, man. It's just amazing.
When Ren and I met, what was his name? Keps 249 from Fat Cap.
Yes.
He goes, I always saw you guys' names, but I never knew what happened to you or who you guys were. And he goes, a lot of times with graffiti, you see the names of the people, but you don't know who they are, what happened to them,
right?
As the years go on.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said that I went to the museum, a graffiti museum, and the first piece I saw was Ren 1.
That's pretty cool. Well, BRAZE, you've been around a long time, and you've seen a lot also, man. What are some of your thoughts on how far it's come, man?
It's come quite some ways. I'm happy to be still a big part of it. I try and paint any chance I get. Big ups to Bad Company and the Fabulous Five.
Who came up with Bad Company?
That started out with like Sahara and Strider, and they started that crew. Delta, Reflex. We got Dr. Doom, and then we split off. Me and Stripe became best friends and brothers over the years, and then we started having gentlemen like Kesco and Dems. God bless Chase, and Ghost actually was an early member of that company also. And,
big up to Strider.
Yeah, big up to Strider. Yeah, he's a big inspiration to me too. Yeah, as a human being and a brother and an artist. Yeah, that's one of the gentlemen I did a lot of painting with.
Nice.
Yeah,
Just a great person,
Mirage,
man.
yeah.
All you guys
Oh,
are.
Kika,
yes.
Me and Kika go back to like 78,
Wow.
79. Yeah, we were best friends. Mirage, yeah, and yeah, like I was saying, like Cover and all us guys. I used to go to school with a dude named Sino. He used to sit next to me, and he would be tagging up and stuff, and I'd be like, "Yo, what are you doing over there?" I'd be like, "Yeah." So he taught me some things with the penmanship and Berserk, and of course Bino and Cato were very good friends of mine. I used to go over, hang out with them. We sit down and do some graffiti doodling and stuff like that. But yeah, but my father actually got me into do. My father used to work in a printing press, so he would show me how to do bubble letters and stuff like
Nice.
that. Yeah, so I started that at an early age. Yeah, but I've been drawing like all my life. I ain't gonna say I'm tired, but yeah, graffiti has come a long way. It has, yeah, to street art and things of that nature. I love the whole atmosphere of it, and always have. Yeah. Yep. Talked to Castor today. Big up to Castor.
Castor,
Yeah.
he took that energy from Staten Island and he went to Florida and
Right.
he set up a whole thing like the art cipher. He's doing that down
like
there.
5
man.
points,
Kind
kinda,
of like
yeah.
5 points, the art cipher.
Really?
A lot of positive things. He does classes for kids and just giving, that graffiti art
West Art.
exposure
Right.
that came from Staten Island, man. We're sending people all around the world now, man. It's
a beautiful thing.
It too, man. He's in Europe, man. So
I mean, I used to write with Casper for a little while
yes,
too,
yes,
man.
there's a
from
lot of
West
guys,
Brighton.
man. Yes.
Yeah,
So
he was a beast.
So he took that to Florida, man. So he's doing his thing down there. Castor, incredible artist, man.
Yeah.
He always tells the story of BRAZE, man. He said, BRAZE, I used to look up to you, man. I used to go to your house right early on. He was just starting out. He's one of the, I'd say Castor is one of the top artists, man,
very
around.
Talented. Very
He
talented.
does his thing,
brother.
no tricks or nothing, man. Just
my
straight
man right there.
spray paint and just off of memory, and he's tight, man. Incredible artist.
Yeah.
That's that Staten Island energy, man. It's how would you say, underrated?
Right.
He's kind of under the he's doing his thing, but just he's kind of never.
A lot of dudes came up behind him.
Yeah, I mean, but you inspired. You inspire people, man. That's what we're trying to do. Always try to do is inspire, man. We try to inspire, and always keep it positive. I think with the Staten Island, the story that we want to tell is keep it positive, and never give up with your dreams, man.
I used to go out and paint the wall first, prime it, then rock a little throw up a piece up there. Not too many throw ups. I never really did too many throw ups. I didn't try to make a mess of things, but any chance I get to actually do a nice piece, and usually would be like McKee Park. That's where
you had a few pieces there.
Yeah, Mahoney Park had a couple of pieces over there back in the day. Used to write with my man Trick, and yeah, we went citywide. We just went every weekend going out piecing to each borough. But yeah, some fun stuff, man. We used to paint in the day. I mean, we just it would be broad daylight out, and we're out there doing pieces on handball courts. It was almost like it was acceptable or something at some point, because if you wasn't literally scribbling all over the wall and you was doing something that looked like it had some kind of formula to it, you can. I've had officers where I turn around and start packing my gear up, and they're telling me, no, finish, go ahead, finish. And I was like, wow, is this real? Yeah, yeah. On 2 occasions, they told me, hey.
No, it's funny story. Is, my friend Bear 167, his brother was writing on the wall, right? And somebody came up to him and he said, "What are you writing?" He goes, "I'm writing my name, Moon 77." He goes, "Why? What do you write?" He goes, "NYPD." And they put the cuffs on him.
Oh.
Yeah, I got out of that whole game before trouble came my way. But yeah, Staten Island is a unique place though to write. I mean, like some of the walls are like so old, you know, and it's usually abandoned walls and like
Yeah, we need a wall of fame for the writers.
yeah. Well, that's what we put together.
Well, you
Mr.
know,
MENIC,
we're trying to work on that, man. You know, make it happen. You know, it's a beautiful thing, man. You know, we're still keeping that energy alive, and you know, I'm real proud of that. You know,
Yeah,
real proud of that.
Staten Island's come a long way.
It's come a long way. you
Yeah.
know? And it's great to see. You know, because now there's a lot of new riders. You know, out. You know, and the energy is just crazy. You know, to see how far
What I
it's
see
come.
in the Bronx, right? Like, there's this gym, right, on 168th and Webster, right? All year, people would graffiti the side of the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my friend Dak and Cope told the guy that owns the gym, said, "Listen, let us do some artwork on the side of your building, and nobody will touch it anymore."
Mm-hmm.
So he had like 4 or 5 writers come, do
Yeah.
pieces.
That makes a lot of sense.
People don't write on the wall anymore.
Yeah, right.
Out of
yeah,
respect.
Out of respect, right. Right. So, you know, Staten Island, we're still searching for that. Big ups to Exit.
Yep.
With his, he has a
TABC.
kind of, you know, that's a kind of wall of fame. You know, whatever Exit does on his wall is always some beautiful work, and
Absolutely.
getting the writers together. And you have the South Shore Wall. That's a very famous wall, JC's old wall, and so you know we have a history too.
Projectivity.
Yeah.
Projectivity. They do a lot of positive things.
Yeah, that was amazing.
with the art,
they did with
you
the
know.
wall over there.
And that 50-year celebration with the hip hop
Right.
down in Stapleton there
Yeah.
was great. They got a lot of artists together
Thank you for having me, by the way.
and just
Yeah.
did
I
some
saw the
incredible
pictures.
Christian
Oh,
fan.
incredible work, man. You know, just incredible. BRAZE was part of that, and Exit. You guys, you did your thing, and
And Cram Sep.
Cram. Yes,
Big
you know we
Cram,
forget
yeah.
you know, everyone that was involved.
Yeah.
Really, God bless.
Yeah,
And it was
Pesk.
just
Big
Pesk,
up to Pesk.
right,
Yeah, these guys are all amazing artists
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
man.
yeah,
those
and they're
dudes.
keeping that energy going. And you know that's
My man Prez.
Prez, yeah, that Staten Island energy, man.
Scope. I was always a big fan of Scope, and yeah, those guys Sub and Law and them cats. They were from like the Eltonville area.
And they got a lot of respect for the old school writers. And,
Yeah, I
and-
talk to Scope
Oh
periodically.
yeah,
But,
mad cool, man.
It always amazed me how some graffiti artists have this God-given talent and never had any art education.
Yeah,
It's just gifted.
it's all in the wrists, man. Yeah,
I guess you're born with it.
Yeah,
Right? You're
it's
kinda
innate.
Born with it. You know?
I had no choice. Yeah,
I never went to art school. I
Yeah.
mean, did you?
No,
you know?
no.
that's like we said. We
man.
probably met like umpteen years when we were kids, man, because we was in the
I
same
think some guys,
same
artists,
program.
went to art and design in Manhattan.
Right,
Oh yeah,
And then that's where a lot of them connected to do graffiti,
Sure.
like Lady Pink and
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
other guys.
Yeah,
Right.
I was supposed to go there, but my portfolio didn't get there. They threw me in Curtis, and I met Hammett Curtis.
Yeah, I mean,
we
Curtis, that was
like
when I was a graffiti,
15,
you know,
16 years old.
a famous wall too in the back of Curtis, that big wall of
Right,
the handball
right,
court,
yeah.
man, you know,
With the sun on there, yeah.
back in the '70s, man. You know, Doc said he was one of the first ones to put, you know, was no graffiti, man. Like you said,
Yeah.
you know, pieces was scattered, man. You know, so wasn't like the Bronx. You know, it was always graffiti all around.
I remember I
man.
painted Curtis with a roller and a paintbrush once.
Wow.
But yeah, these cats, all you cats, been a big inspiration to me. Hands up, man.
Oh, thank you, Praise.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
and,
doubt.
and same here, man. Really, DEMAR, you inspired me, and it's a circle.
Yeah.
That keeps going around, and you know, you just got to keep that energy going, man. You know, from you, DEMAR, to me, and to BRAZE, and you know, to Rin, and we've always kept it. We've kept it going, man. With the Fabulous Five guys, and you know, they still, you know, it's just a handful of us, man. You know, but it's never too late. That's why I see it, man.
I couldn't believe the day these cats indicted me. Indicted. I don't get indicted.
I don't want you to get indicted.
I don't want to hear that word. Let's take that back. Rerun. Inducted me into the.
We're going to get you anywhere
but by the time he's finished with you, man.
You might get indicted.
Yeah, you might get indicted. Yeah.
No, but that's, like you said, that's how you keep it going.
Yeah, you know, and you know, that's a beautiful thing, man, really, y'all.
Inducted into the Fabulous Five.
Yeah, that was a dream come true, man.
Big up the OG.
Yeah, big up to OG and Doc
SLUG
109,
SLUG.
You know, and so
and God bless.
So,
God bless our brother Del.
Our brother Del, yes.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Del.
Yeah.
You know.
Rest in peace, all brothers.
And that's how
Reflex
you know. That's how
days.
we kind of keep it going,
That's it.
right? They put myself and Braze into the Fabulous Five, and they say, "Hey, you guys are you're down with us, man, and we want you to keep it going. We want you to keep that energy going, that friendship, the art, man. We never want to forget the roots, man. We're keeping those roots going.
You guys are connected to one of the most prolific artists of all times, Lee 3.
Oh, of course, man. You know that's he's one of the main guys. You
Is
know?
his name Lee 3? Not talking about Lee Quinones.
Yeah.
Oh, his name is Lee 3?
I thought his number.
No. I think it just goes by Lee.
Yeah,
Lee,
yeah.
but,
But there was a Lee 3, I think.
I think so. Yes. You know, so you know, I'm proud of that, and I always keep the energy of you, DEMAR, and Aid, and Rin. You know, that's my original crew, man. You know, so I'm keeping that. I'm trying to keep that, you know, going, man. You know, with the original guys. You know, so always know that, and that's your energy. You know, never. We're still keeping that. The Bomb Squad, man. All these years later,
I used to be like,
right?
who's DEMAR? I mean, like, that's so cool. Like,
that was a cool name, man.
At MENIC, I was
cool
like,
name.
yo, where did these cats come
you
up
know,
with these
you know,
names?
the thing with you had mentioned
Basic
something with the
Saint.
with the three numbers, with the three numbers.
This is what happened, right? I asked Ren, I said, you know, this guy is 170, that guy is 170, it's 168. What are all these numbers? He goes, that's the street they live on. I live on Arden Avenue, so I don't have a,
seen those
so
streets.
my address was 1337, right? So I said, all right, I'll just pull one of the threes out, and
All right,
I got
that's
137.
Cool. That's cool. But also with that DEMAR, when you had three numbers, that was like a sign of respect, man. Only the big shots had three numbers, man. Really, SLUG added all the guys, but like, you know, the Staten Island guys especially, that was like. He was one of the big guys, man. SLUG was 335.
Right.
Doc was 109.
Right.
And Mono had four numbers, man. 105 dash 1. Yeah. Yo, they was the coolest, man. That dude had four numbers, man.
What was it?
105 dot 1 or dash 1.
Right.
105 either dot or
point
dash.
one or dash.
Point, I think it was point.
Right?
Point 1.
Point one.
107.5.
Yeah. It's a radio
BLS,
station.
man. Yo, how cool was that? That dude had four numbers, man.
WHUB 17.
So to have three numbers was cool, DEMAR. So you was cool back in the day. That's what made your name even cooler, man, because you had three numbers, man.
When I researched it,
137.
it said it's an angel number.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
Nice.
it meant something, man.
I started putting a halo.
DEMAR 137.
Did you write coma?
No, I used to see that a lot.
Right.
I didn't write that.
No, but
Because that's one of the pieces I got out of the car. My father was like, this dude, man, he got to
yeah, I don't
stop.
remember
My
I
father
said
would
that.
drive.
I
in
always
Port
see
Richmond.
those stickers, Como.
No, not those. I'm talking about back in the 70s. When you used to
That
write
was a
with
Kobe.
A.
I don't remember who Coleman. No, it
know.
wasn't
Yeah.
Aid. It wasn't
It
Aid.
wasn't Aid.
It was somebody. I don't
Might
remember.
have
I
been.
can't
It might have
remember.
been Aid,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe it
Rin
was.
had so
like
many names.
Per.
Yeah, Rin had a lot of names too.
Yeah,
man.
He did his
Fine.
brother's name Easy, right?
Easy.
Easy 111. That was cool, man. When you
You know
had
how
three
long
numbers.
it took me to know what easy? I was like Ezzy. I was like Ezzy. Then I was like, oh, easy. Oh, you know.
So I picked. I used to write DI 170,
160,
man.
170.
I had to have 3 numbers, man. I said I want to be cool too, man, like these guys. Man,
He
Rin
was
was cool.
different. He had 2 letters and 3 numbers.
Yeah.
Everybody had 3 letters and 1
Yeah,
number.
I had three numbers, but I want to be cool too, man. So DEMAR, that was cool. He had a cool name, man. That's a cool name. He either had 1. Rin was good. He had 2. He had 5. He had mine 2. You know, he had a bunch of numbers, man. Rin 1. You know,
I think that what made him so good at so many different letters is by having so many different names.
names, yeah. You know, and he would get them up, man. He would get them up. So
Pearl. He used to write.
Pearl, Red Pearl, right? Yeah. So yeah, Pinot,
Pinot, yeah.
Pinot 167. You know, I was all Rin.
You
man.
did the outlines on down there where the lumber yard used to be off of Bay Street, right?
I might have did. You know, Rin said, "Hey, man, do one of my outlines for me." You know, he would give me a lesson, man, and say, "Okay, what you gonna do, man?"
Those were
you know,
sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, I did one, and he wanted to test me out. I said, "Okay, man, you know, do your thing, man." That was practice. That's why I became so good because of Rin, man. Really, we touch on Rin real quick, man. Rin was one of the kings, man. His energy stretched to a lot of guys, man.
Right.
DEMAR, Aid, myself, Basic, GANO, and Last, man.
Yeah.
All of that's Rin. All of that came out of the Rin. Rin took over from the old school guys, all too, and out of the Port Richmond guys, and he just took it to a whole nother level.
Right.
So you can't talk about Staten Island without talking about Rin.
Absolutely.
And even, you know, I mean, on Staten Island, yeah, the Fabulous 5 had the trains and everything, but Rin, he was the king of Staten Island. And so a lot of credit goes to Rin. He inspired a lot of people,
And
myself.
I told him, I said, you know, you were my teacher. And he goes,
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, he was my teacher, and Basic and all the crew, man.
I
all of us.
call him the
Aid,
professor.
the professor. And still, Rin is still tight to this day. So, you know, when we talk about Staten Island, you got to give credit to Rin, man. He became the king. And that was through hard work and just like loving it, man. And Rin was, you know, I'm going to do what it takes, man. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
His graffiti IQ was so
So high, but
far ahead of
we're
us.
talking about the 70s, man. We're not talking about now. We're talking about the 70s. So big shout out to Rin, man.
Big shout out to
And big
Rin.
shout out to Doc and Doc 109
Yes.
and Slug and Mono. Those 3 guys, man. A lot of energy, you know, flowed through
Slave.
them also, man. You know, Slave and the whole Fabulous 5. But, you know, when
And
we
you
talk,
guys,
well, we took over. We took over, you know, Basic and myself and Saint 5 and Bino. You know, we wanted to be like you, man. We wanted to be the top guys also. And, you know, we made our mark, you know, but it was the energy that was passed around. You know, we wanted to be like the kings, man. You know, like Aid and DEMAR and Rin, man. And we wanted to do whatever it took, man, to get to be those guys, man. Inspired us. You inspired us, man. And you know, we took that energy and ran with it, man. And then when we got with Rin, forget about it, man. So that's just a cool story. I think it's a great. So that's the roots of Staten Island, man. It doesn't start with the new guys now. You know, people think, you know, God bless the Wu-Tang and GANO and those guys. They did the mural in Park Hill. It's beautiful. Without them, you know, God bless them.
Yeah.
But the story goes back even further than that, man. You got to go, if you want to get to the beginning, you got to go back to the 70s. And that's where we come in, right? And that's our story that we're sharing. We want to share with the world, man. You know, like Staten Island, we have our history too.
Right.
We're part of the bigger picture. But don't, you know, that's kind of the roots, man.
Yeah.
You know, we're representing the roots, man. So, DEMAR, what you got some words? Let's kind of, you know, get some final words in. I guess.
I said, seeing where it is at now and knowing how it started is mind-boggling. How the South Shore graffiti just took off. From me being the only writer in Tottenville High School to a wall of fame in
it's big now. And they post pictures all over the world, man.
The Eltingville Posse and how all these other writers came up after us. It's unbelievable.
It's great.
You know, because for me to write back then, I wrote alone. Until I met Rin, we wrote together, and aid. They inspired me to come to the other end of the island to write with them. And they were telling me where to do pieces. Do it at the ferry. Do it at Richmond Terrace. Do it here. Do it there. This way you got your name up on the other end of the island, and I was helping them get their names up on my end of the island.
And that was energy that you brought here, right? You came and brought that energy from the South Shore to the North Shore, and Rin brought that energy from the North Shore to the South Shore. And DEMAR, those pieces that you did still inspired a lot of people, inspired me, man. I still remember those pieces.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Right? I still do. All these years later. 40, and it stuck with me.
Oh, my ancestors.
For some reason, that stuck with me my whole life. That's the cool thing. Even today, man.
And like I said, if you don't meet the people that come up after you, you don't know that you inspired them.
You did,
like
man.
I heard from you guys, GANO, Tom, Jade, Keka.
And I'm happy. I'm blessed that I could even tell you that, right? And Jay,
Kika.
I had got out of graffiti, for a while, man, and I was kind of doing my thing, and I ran into Jay, same thing. We haven't seen each other in some years, and I ran into Jay just real quick, and we hung and said, hey, MENIC, I was getting off of work. He was getting off of work. I said, MENIC, what's up, man? You still doing graffiti? I said, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, I'm just going to do my thing. And we hung out all night, and he said, MENIC, I'm doing a show. I'm doing a show. Come and check out my show.
Right.
Downtown Manhattan. I work downtown Manhattan. He said, come check out my show. We're doing a show right off of Canal Street, little bar there. When I walked into the bar and I looked out, there was a big stage. You walk in the bar, it was huge.
M15.
And on the wall, it was M15, man. M15. He did big old school letters with big, man. And when I saw that, I tell him, man, to this day, when I saw that, I asked him, I said, BRAZE, man, you did that? He said, yeah. I said, you still doing your thing? He said, yeah. And then he had some art that he did. That inspired me. That was almost 20-something years ago, man.
He was in the next show.
Yeah.
That quick.
Yeah, that inspired me, man. And when I saw that.
That's what he tries. That's what he's trying to push on to all of us to keep.
Yeah, never let it go, man. Because you never know who you're going to inspire. Who you're going to touch.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing, man. And in a positive way, man. Because when I saw that, I was like, yo, I want to get back into it. And I did. From that day, I still remember that day.
Well, that's true. There's sometimes somebody says something or does something and inspires you to do something again.
Yeah. And that's great, Now maybe if I wouldn't have seen that, if I wouldn't have ran into you, who knows, man? Maybe I might have got inspired, but maybe I wouldn't, man. Maybe I just would have just kind of just doing my thing. But when I saw that inspired me. That was just your energy,
well, thank
BRAZE,
you. I'm glad.
And that's what we got to try to always inspire people,
It's like I was talking to BRAZE before, how being an artist helps you in other areas of life. Where maybe what he did with this table. I mean, this creativity of art,
Sure.
helps you transform it into a different area too. Like with me with photography.
Yeah.
I'm big with photography, but I think the graffiti also gave me a better eye of shooting and looking at colors.
I like what optics did with you.
Yeah. He's nice. Yeah.
And that's what you gotta continue to do, DEMAR, is keep it going, man.
Yeah.
Just keep going any way you can. Your little energy. In your world, you don't know who you could touch. Same thing with me, man. I try to work on, my world and reach out and touch people through art, man. BRAZE, you've always done that, man. Always done that. Positive. You do a lot of things with Project Positivity, right? And just, spreading a good positive message through graffiti art, man. Through graffiti art. That's what we're trying to do. And that's Staten Island.
Hub 17.
Hub 17, they're a big part of it, man.
Big part of it. Help me out.
And they're building. And they're building. And they're giving us a showcase.
Keeping it alive.
Big ups to Ken and the crew. And just
right.
all that he's done. Supporting us, man. Supporting, art in all kinds of ways. And
good
music.
Seeing Doug earlier.
Yeah, but, just with
Kimbra.
With graffiti art, too, man. He's been a big part of the Staten Island.
He's multi-talented. How many instruments you play?
I'm basically a drummer.
Yeah, okay, here you go.
I play bass a little
do
bit.
Thing, your music.
Like to
Grace,
sing.
You know? I like to say creativity.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
you know.
Big ups to Abstraction.
How long
His
you been
band.
drumming?
All my life, basically, probably about 55 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's love, man. Love and passion. You know. So, we're just going to try to keep it going. You know, but we're working on a little project. You know, just want to put it out there. We want to try to get some artists together and donate some art to cancer for kids, man. Kids with cancer. We want to kind of do something positive and get some artists together and donate some art. We're going to try to get some of the guys from Staten Island together and do some art, and we're going to try to donate some of this art for a good cause.
Right, oh, that'd be
and,
great.
You know, that's what one of our projects, working on with Little Mike on it. Big ups to Little Mike and his family. He's a big part of that, man. Another
Big
Staten
ups to Lil
Island
Mike.
energy, you know, beautiful person. And so we always try to not just do the art for money or ourselves, but to give our art to always a higher cause than ourselves.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
And that's just our friendship through the years. We're all still friends, and we love each other, man. I think that's what makes Staten Island our art is special, man, because we have a genuine love for each other. So we're working on. We didn't put that out there. We're working on that. I think that'll be a beautiful thing, man. We're going to show.
Yeah,
we're
it's
going to
great.
show the world,
Get
man.
a start. I got some done, right?
I know you good.
Okay.
You good, Grace.
All
I got to get something from DEMAR.
Oh, that's no problem.
Yeah, you know, but that's what we're working on, man.
Yeah.
We and that talk about touching some lives,
Right,
through
right.
art, man. We want to touch some lives, and we could make
Pay
some-
it forward.
Play it forward, man, because we've been blessed.
Yeah.
The three of us, man. Look, we're still here. We're
We're
still
still
here to talk about it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Talk about it, man. And do it, still doing it, man. You guys, I got some markers. We're gonna tag. We're gonna just do some tags today, man. But we're gonna always try to give something back, man, to bring a smile, man. Bring a smile. You know, I've been blessed, man. I was able to send my art to Germany, man. I made a friend in Germany, and to send my art there, and it's on a person's wall all the way in Germany, and it brings a smile. And I say, hey, you know, I did the train, the whole graffiti art, man, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. And I touched someone around the world, man. That's what we could. That's the power of graffiti art, man. Writing. It's very powerful. It's powerful. It's not just something that's lightly, man. It inspired us to do it our whole lives, and you can bring a smile and enjoy. And I tell the person, hey, and if you see my art on your wall, that's love, man, and that's positivity. When you have a bad day, you look at my graffiti art, and she says, people, you know, every time they come, I told her one thing is, man, when people walk in your apartment, they're gonna ask you, who did that? Where'd you get that from, man? And she tells them, hey, that was my friend in New York City, man. How cool is that?
Yeah.
I said, everyone, she said, everyone who comes in, they see that art. I might have things on this and things on that, but they see that graffiti art and they ask about it. They say, who did that, man? You think she did? She not? No, that's my friend in New York. I said that. They're going to ask you, man. They're going to ask you, who did that? And I can tell you exact words. Who did it? And where did you get that from? That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
You know? Well, DEMAR, you gave that to me many years ago. And BRAZE, you gave that to me many years ago, too. When you inspired me. That was the gift that you gave to me.
You inspired me.
That was a gift that you gave to me. So I'm just trying to
And the
give
guys
that.
before me inspired me.
There you go. You know, so that's the energy.
So the
man.
inspiration goes from one generation to another.
And it goes around. But always realize that's the power. That's the energy we have, man. You can have the worst day and things could be tough and life can look hard. You know, but when you see that piece of graffiti art, man, that touched me. You know, that wasn't for no money or nothing. That was just to bring somebody a smile, man. And that's the power of writing and graffiti art, man. It's very powerful. And so always use it the best you can, you know, that you could bring a smile and make somebody happy. You know, just looking at your art, man, you know, that's very cool. I think that's just a beautiful thing. And we're lucky that we're involved in that, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's a beautiful thing.
Part of a movement, and we didn't even know it.
We didn't even know. We didn't even know. Now we know.
We pushing.
Now we know.
We pushing.
You know, but now we know. I mean, we've always realized, sensed it somehow, but now we know, man. You know, because we the ones sitting around able to talk about it and to tell the story. You know, it's not like I said, man. You always realize that. You know, it's not a lot of guys at this table.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys at this table. So, you know, why were we chosen? We're the chosen.
We're the chosen ones.
We're the chosen ones, man. No, really, we are, man. We're the chosen ones. Who's going to tell the story? You know, we only touched on it a little bit.
You got to get it out there, bro.
No, but it is. You know, we put it out. I think we did a good job of putting it out there. How did things start? I've always loved history. Because nothing happens without a start.
Right.
Without a seed. And sometimes, like DEMAR said, he don't even know the seed. You know, you come and years later, it's a huge tree, man. So where did that come from, man? I thought it was just a little bush like that, man. And it turns into
I never thought I would meet who actually wrote DEMAR.
Yeah,
that takes me back so far, man.
That
I'm
goes
like,
back.
yeah, I'm like.
Mike said that you came over his house and he said, I was just talking to DEMAR. And he said, you know DEMAR?
That's right.
And then you called MENIC.
Yeah, man. Yo, that goes back even further. You know, people think I go back.
and
Mike, this guy goes back.
Mike goes like this. He goes, you're a pioneer. You were taken before MENIC.
Yeah, man. And that's for real. That's for real. You think MENIC goes back, man? Nah, man. You know who goes back further than MENIC and Basic, man? It's DEMAR and Aid, man. They go back. That's even further back than me, man. That's pretty far, man. That was an honor, man. Yo, DEMAR, man. I was on you for a couple of years trying to catch up. I got to bring this guy out, man. But it's great. It's great. You know, when
It's better late than never, right?
better late than never. That's for sure. Better late than never, really. You know, and that's the motto. With Staten, we still pushing. Staten Island, we still pushing, man. We still pushing, man. The Bronx, their guys are satisfied,
Some
man.
memories.
Yeah, they got books and they got movies and you know, Brooklyn too, Harlem. But Staten Island, we still pushing to get our story out, man.
45 years later.
We still got to push, man. We do. Because, you know, we're the smallest borough, but we got to push even harder. We still pushing. And God bless us, man. Even down to the three, man. We're gonna keep it alive.
The three amigos.
There you go, man. For the whole,
way.
we representing the whole crew, man. You know, even if it's three of us, man, we ain't coming with a whole crew. We coming with three guys, man. That's pretty, you know, that's love, man.
Big ups to the MENIC 1 Museum, too.
Yeah.
Hey, man, but I got all your energy around me,
Yeah.
man. You know, I got, and that's what keeps me going. That keeps me going, man. Positive energy. I got all my. I'm sitting here talking with DEMAR and BRAZE, man. My main men, man. DEMAR, come on, man. That only a handful of guys can go back as far as you go back. You go back even further than BRAZE, man. And I know
I
BRAZE.
was a little kid when this happened.
Man.
Yeah, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Shoot.
Really, how many? But Basic and Ren. And St. Five, that's about it, man. And DEMAR, man.
Yeah, that's like when you looked at that photo, me, Cato, Saint, Rin.
That's classic,
like,
man.
whoa.
But people don't understand that. That's not just a picture. That's not just a picture. That's memories, man. That's history. That's love, man. That's that's brotherhood. You know, and we all look different, man. You know, but that's, you know, we're brothers, man. That's not just a picture. There's a whole story behind that picture. We were lucky enough to capture that picture because I'm into photography too. Nobody else took a picture. I said, man, I got to get a picture of this, man. These guys.
I wish I had all my photos. I used to have a lot of pictures.
So
I lost my whole portfolio.
Pictures of memories, man.
Yeah.
Pictures of story.
I got one picture. One of my cousins. He took a video of one of my other cousins. In the background, you could see a lot of old graffiti from like the early 70s. I can't really make it out, but
it was there. It was always there.
Yeah,
you know. But so that's great, man. That's a beautiful picture. When you talk about Staten Island, you know, that picture sums up Staten Island. I tell BRAZE all the time, man. If we go anywhere around the world, right? So we're going to go anywhere around the world. Graffiti now, writing is all around the world, man. And it's even bigger in Europe and places like that. It's big.
Look how I saw Tacky 183 in Greece.
Yeah. And if you go and search, you know, you've been traveling around the world. And if you go out and search, there's graffiti all around the world. but it it didn't start there. It traveled there. It was in the Bronx, New York, maybe Philly. So many tags. There's always been tags anywhere.
There was a writer named the Greek, and that he went back with Tacky.
Yeah. So it's all around the world right now. But we could go anywhere around the world and say, hey, we could show that picture anywhere around the world and say, this is Staten Island, New York. These are the guys, and people say, wow. And that's for real. That's not fake, man. Those are the guys, man. So, well, if they ask, well, who's the Staten Island guys, man? What's Staten Island?
That's what we got to do. We got to put a album of all the writers, at least their pictures.
He's been putting stuff together like that. I'm surprised you haven't seen. Well, you got to bring him. You been in the museum yet?
No, he's going to come.
Oh, you got to get over there.
I'm not big on Instagram.
You think this is a lot?
Somebody has to hold on to the history, man.
Yeah.
You got pictures and things. It's just scattered. This one has a little bit, that one has a little bit, but it's no really like composite. They did a little book.
I was impressed in your photo album.
Yeah. BRAZE and Strider had made it to a couple of books.
That album's 45 years
and a few books.
But check it out.
You too. You're in a Mass Appeal issue. I got that with me actually.
But there's really no kind of composite story on Staten Island artists, man.
Yeah.
Of the old school guys, man.
Right.
And that's something that could be done.
Yeah,
man,
we need to
and
put
it's never
that
too
together.
late to do it.
It's
just something that you have to kind of do, man. That's my motto, man. It's never too late to do anything.
By meeting you and seeing you as of now, it's like wow, that you're the guy we're looking for.
There you go. You're the missing link, DEMAR. You're the missing link, man. We've been searching for you for 45 years, man. Come on, now where you been?
When I seen you popping up on Instagram, I was like,
what? I said, we gotta find this guy.
Yeah.
Man. We gotta bring him.
I did a whole tribute on. I think I got most of it.
the 70s series.
You seen it?
When I saw that, right? And
you seen it? Okay.
Me and Rin were at Fat Cap, right? And I showed him the picture. I said, "Yo, Rin, you did this?" He said, "No, BRAZE."
Right.
Now, for probably 5 years before that, I thought he did it. I said, "Yo, Rin remembered me," right?
Right.
And because you put DEMAR in the corner.
Oh yeah. I got you.
And I found the writer, the author.
There you go. So we've been searching back and forth,
and he hit all the 70 writers.
Yeah,
I caught him, right?
Yeah, every one of them.
A lot of guys, man. A lot of guys.
I saw Mono, Tug, Slug,
all of the guys, man.
Fine, Easy.
Right, that was the whole crew, man. If you put all those guys together, it's a lot of names.
I was paying attention, man.
Yeah, that was a nice photo. I saved it. I got it.
And that was done a couple of years ago. That's not really recent, man. That was done a few.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Over 10 years.
Over
man.
10 years.
Maybe
right? Look, time flies.
Not
man.
20 years.
No,
but
yeah,
close.
maybe 10, 12 years, right? So that's great, man.
I saw it on the internet somewhere, and then GANO sent it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But I always thought Rin did it.
Yeah. Rin came to my house and got one.
And that's great, and that's what we're talking about, man. That's what we're kind of talking about.
Captured the 70s.
It captured it, man. Yeah,
thanks,
all the different
Even
styles.
even had Rican in there.
Rican, my man.
A lot of guys, man. Biz, rest in peace. Big shout out to Biz. It's a lot of guys going back, man. I remember Wise 8, man. He was another one of the old school guys.
Yeah.
He had a piece of PS16. And it's a lot of guys that you forget that, like I said, that they stopped writing and you don't hear about them. Sonic stopped many years ago, but Sonic was a big influence on me. If I could track down all the guys.
Was there On 2 also?
It was On 2, yes. He goes back, On 2, and Fuji, man, another guy. I never heard from him again. But he left that mark, man. I still remember his tag.
That's
man.
what Keps was talking about. He goes, sometimes you see the name,
Save 999.
then you don't know what happened to
you
them.
don't know what happened, right?
or who they were.
Yeah, or where they went, or what happens.
My first experience with a spray can was a can of paint that stood in my grandfather's garage for ever. And I don't know what kind of paint. What was it, Martin paint?
Martin Paints, they had a lot of stores on Staten Island, man.
That was on Highland Boulevard in Eltonville.
Yeah, you guys, that was your spot, man. There was so many places, man.
So I took that can. I went with my friend Anthony Carter. one of my brothers. We still in touch to the day, and I think that's when I put up like one of my first tags. He used to write Q5.
Wow.
And he wasn't really a writer. That was my
Yeah.
kung fu buddy. But I was like, yo, want to try this can of paint? And we went on the side of like the houses where my grandparents lived, and we caught tags. And I think that was like my first tag. Yeah. I got a little paint on my hand. I was like, from that point, I was hooked. I said, yeah, man. So, but I've always been fascinated with graffiti because my grandparents, my grandmother lived in on Tinton and Jackson Avenue in St. Mary's Projects over there, and that from that basketball court there, we'd be down there playing, and you see the trains going by and just going out there back and forth to the Bronx, and to Staten Island on the weekends. So I have very fond childhood memories of when. Of your pieces and MENIC's pieces growing up. It's like we're the same age, but you might be a little older than us.
62.
Right? Oh, God bless you.
Yeah.
But
wow.
you started early, DEMAR.
Yeah.
You know, you guys were writing early, man.
Yeah.
The early teenage
Absolutely.
years, man, you
I'm
know.
60, but it seems like your pieces. It seems like them
You was
pieces.
up,
You did
man.
them pieces early,
Yeah,
bro.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know, you was up, man. You know, I don't know what it does seem like that though. You know.
So when you
I'm
started,
60,
how old? You were like 10, 12, 13?
No, a little older than that, but
It seems like them pieces was those were some hot summers, yo. I mean, like,
you know what was interesting, right? Is that I always had paint, right? Didn't really have it, but one thing I realized over time, I said, this guy knows colors, man. Even back then, early, because his pieces were popping.
Right.
Mine were a little duller. Now, he was grabbing a good paint.
he knew what he was looking for.
Yeah, he knew.
That's too much.
That's true. That is true.
But then,
man.
you know, like when you look at everything evolved to whole cars, right?
Right.
Blade said
Not
that.
like
he said, I wanted to
bottoms
see
is
my
crazy.
piece from 3 blocks away.
Oh, yeah.
Go, yeah. Right.
And that's what happened when used cars passed by.
That's what I
you
used to
see
see in the early 70s, too.
Yeah.
And it stuck in your mind. I think that's the biggest thing. For some reason, I don't know why.
Plus
It
the
just stuck in your
adventure,
mind.
man. Just
Oh, yeah.
doing top to bottoms and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like Strider is who put me on the tunnels and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And we.
Yeah, that
some
Rin said
cool
that
productions.
he always wanted to do a whole car.
God bless him. And Braze, you know, you kept that energy going. Big ups to you, Braze, because you're one of the
Thank you, bro.
guys that never stopped, man. You know, you never stopped, you know, and you just kind of kept it going all these years, and that's great, man.
Thank
And I look up
God.
to you.
Yeah.
You know, I stopped for a while. DEMAR stopped for a while. We got back into it. But you, Braze, you kept that going, man.
I give
with,
a lot of
with
credit.
the trains, right? The number trains are longer than the letter trains. Is that how it was?
It seems like the R trains, like the M's.
Yes. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, because I think one has more doors.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Ridgies,
think like the ones
got
in
flats,
the ones in
Ridgies.
Queens were longer.
Freight trains, man, are amazing. I'm always amazed with freight trains. I don't know how those guys do it sometimes. They
But also the Fab Five, I think they were the only ones to do 10 cars.
Well, that's the story. That's part of the legend.
10
You know,
cars in one
did the
night.
whole,
that's
thing.
the whole line. Yeah.
That's one of the legends of the Fabulous Five.
Yeah.
You know, so bigs up to the Fabulous Five and the roots that they laid down. you
Right.
know. And people, you know, following those footsteps. You know, they want to follow in those footsteps. That's the thing. That's big footsteps to following.
To Phil too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Thank
so.
God. They put us in charge, man. We got work to do. We got
So
work.
We got
trying our
unfinished
best.
work.
Yeah, we're trying our best. You know, we're gonna do our thing. We're gonna do our thing. But
Yeah, we almost had Cato down here tonight, right?
yeah, he might pop in.
Yeah, he might pop in.
He might pop in, but you know, I think we covered a lot, man. We covered a lot,
Absolutely.
and
Now it's time to go paint, gentlemen. Let's show 'em what
Let's
we're
get our
talking
groove
about.
on.
Yeah.
well, you know, it all starts with a tat. You know, like
Call Rin. Get Rin over here right now. I try to get Kika and Exit down. But they're a little busy today. But
Well, you know, the next time, you know, you want to keep this going.
yeah,
And you know, it all starts with a small
It all
little
starts
spark.
with a thought.
big
With a
ups,
thought,
big ups to Nat Stepney,
Yeah, you know,
a tremendous artist. Yeah, that's my brother right there.
and you're another Staten Island.
Yeah,
Guy,
very talented, doing very good with his artwork.
Right,
Yeah,
From those roots, man. You
Yes.
know, another guy I went to school with, just a great person and
yeah.
an incredible artist, man.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that was great. That's great.
Thank our wives for having us out.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
You know, they put up with a lot of our graffiti stuff. You know, I've been married 30 years. God bless you, Georgina. Love you, baby. You know,
GND, graffiti never dies.
That's for sure. That's for sure. You know, we keep it alive. You know,
we need a part 2. We'll definitely be coming back with a part 2.
No doubt.
Some point. Pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
well, you know, it's a long story to tell,
Yeah.
and
You're talking almost 50 years.
you
Yeah.
know.
Got 50 years of hip hop, 50 years of graffiti.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. You know, what is
Graffiti as we know it, right? Because
Yeah.
it was graffiti before us. You
Yeah.
know? Talking about the hobos and stuff on the freight trains. Those
Yeah.
are original graffiti artists.
Oh,
They
yeah,
used to
somebody,
do some amazing stuff.
You know, had to come up with a tag. You know,
Right.
You know, we talk about the modern era, which probably goes back to 69, 70.
Right.
You know, so you know, those guys had great tags, man.
First
back
it
in
was
the
a
day.
tag, and then they outlined the tag,
Right.
and then it evolved from that.
Right. Then it turned into
Bubble letters.
yeah. Let's fill in the piece. And,
Right.
And bubble letters been out for a long time, though. But you mean on the walls? But those, those cloud letters.
Yeah.
They've been out for a while. I don't know. That must date back to
60s.
no before that. I tell you, my father used to teach me how to do them. So he was doing them from when he was a kid. Wow. So that you're talking about the 40s. You know.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, somebody created. I mean, if you go back to the cartoons,
Right.
right? A lot of those artists.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Fleischer, big up the Fleischer.
Yeah, they did like
Disney.
graffiti.
Yeah, that's where I started. I got my
graffiti,
starts,
like you know,
animation.
letters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, characters, of course. But,
Right.
You know, I guess if we're talking about graffiti letters, I would say a lot of those that you don't even
the
remember.
comic strips, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the
Avengers,
comic strips,
and,
yeah, right.
The
They
whole,
did
all
like-
that,
Yeah.
Right. You know.
All those
I mean, that's what a lot of
But it-
people doing. Superheroes from cartoons,
Oh,
comics.
yeah, right, and just the lettering
Bugs
too.
Bunny.
Yes, with the letters. If you notice, if you go back to some of those early art, or you'll see like the letters with a 3D.
Oh yeah.
You know, and maybe even a cloud around it. And you didn't
Exactly.
even realize
Right.
that's like the early versions of graffiti art.
Yeah.
You know.
Big
So,
Daddy Roth and them
Yeah,
cats.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, so it has the roots
Fritz the Cat.
way back. Yeah, Fritz the Cat, right? You know, all those characters that they did, that was part of, I guess, the graffiti writers say, hey, you know, that was the energy that I saw when I was a kid,
Right.
and that somehow got into you,
Exactly.
into your system, you know, and from there, you know, you just take it to another level.
Right. Let's
Okay.
wrap it up,
Okay,
y'all.
all right.
We graffitied out. We could talk a lot, but we never say we were young guys anymore. I mean,
But it's all good, you know. So we're gonna wind it up.
Okay.
But it was a pleasure, man. Really,
Yeah,
it was
we
a
got to
pleasure.
do it again.
And you know, from Big MENIC and DEMAR and BRAZE, God bless.
God bless you too.